Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We are giving you guys once again a weekly update on Married at First Sight. We've got the USA Border Force ready to take control. Yes, we've gone from Avengers to now Border Force, guys. We're building a great team here. So we're going to talk to you guys about episode 8. I'm sure you guys have been watching all our reviews all week round, and finally you get to hear all of our voices on a compilation for an hour or so tonight. So guys, do me a favor. First of all, make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe, and also as well leave a nice little comment in the chat and also after the live finishes. But I'm gonna let my guests introduce themselves. I know you recognize them, but still it's always good to introduce themselves, let them know where they can find you as well, and we'll get the show going. So I'll go with Jack and Glenn first because you're on my right hand side. If you can introduce yourself. I know I've said your name, but go for it.
All right, so I'm Jackie.
And I'm her husband, Glenn.
He is my husband, Glenn, as always. And we're from the Jack and Glenn channel.
We're from the Jack and Glenn channel. You can find us on Instagram at Jack_Glenn. You can find us on YouTube at Jack Glenn. You can find us on Twitter at Jack_Glenn. Just make sure you hit the subscribe button, that bell notification, so you won't miss any of our reviews.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jack and Glenn. August Live, Starry.
I'm Artika.
I'm Tommy.
And we're on everything as August Love Story, except for Twitter, because neither one of us has time to tweet.
I hear you. I appreciate that. Stephanie Lee, welcome to the show. Good to see you as well. I know I've said your name, but if you could introduce yourself as well and where they can find you as well.
Hi guys, my name is Stephanie Lee. I'm a therapist, relationship expert. You can find me on YouTube at Successfully Me, on Instagram at I Am Successfully Me, and on my website at IamSuccessfullyMe.com.
Love it. Thank you very much. And Talisa.
Yeah, sing my name. You know, I like when you sing my name. Every time you introduce us, I always want to sing, what's that song? The Dream Team is here. No, never mind. Forget it because the tune is out of my head. I am Talisa Ray. I am a lifestyle coach. You can find me everywhere at I Am Talisa Ray. On my website, it is Talisa Ray. Just put in my name, Google me, and I should come up.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Great. So I've got you all together this week, which is really, really good, which means we're going to have a whole host of different opinions about today's show. Now, we did a live on Thursday night, and who we didn't speak about was actually Bree and Vincent. So I'm going to present that to you guys first. I know we saw them on episode 8. There was a conversation between Bree and Vincent that was had in the bed, and they were talking about the after events. Now, Vinny didn't actually leave the premises. He kind of went to the car lot. Suddenly remembered that he left something behind and went back. I think he left his senses behind and decided to come all the way back. So we're going to discuss Vincent and Bree and what your guys' thoughts are on where they stand in the relationship at the moment, and what you feel about the events that happened in the show. So if I go first, I'll go with Talisa, because since you're the last person to speak, I'll go with you first. Oh yeah, girl. Let us know your thoughts on Bree and Vincent and what you thought about their situation on the show at the moment.
Did you see me when my eyes get big? Because I was like, oh, I'm first? Okay. So I am really glad that they had a conversation. First, number one, that Vincent did come to his senses and decide to come back in the house, because all he was doing, of course, was, building a greater wedge between them. So I'm glad that happened. Look, I'm in my mind trying to remember because I didn't bring my notes to sit in front of me, but one of the things that came up for me was still he's not vocal enough. Like, yes. She still, she was open, said, explained to him why she felt that she was confused about what was disrespectful, and he still wasn't open enough. And one of the things that he said was, I don't feel like I have to constantly tell somebody when they're being rude. So my thing is, no, you don't, right? As you get to know one another, you don't. But while we're learning, it is important that you share what you don't like, because if I'm not sure, if I don't have clarity, I'm going to keep doing it, and it's going to be a cycle that continues, and you're going to keep wanting to go to the other room now, and we're not going to get anywhere. So I feel like it's important for that, that he starts to feel comfortable enough about how he feels to speak about it. I think that's part of the issue. Like, he's not comfortable articulating himself. And somebody on my channel, it said something about said something about possibly the cultural difference, not being able to articulate himself in the English language may be part of the problem. So that's my little small, and I kind of agree, like, oh, maybe that it could be a thing, but not necessarily is.
I hear that. Okay, I appreciate it, Talisa. If I get Stephanie, your opinion. So we're talking about communication, and since we're going to build off what Talisa said, communication. Vince. Oh, she's come back. She's here. She's come back. Yes, Stephanie. Sorry, you just popped off for a second. So we're talking about obviously communication here, and we're talking obviously about Vince's, I guess, difficulty in being able to communicate. He's feeling something. Or having an emotional reaction to something, but he's unable to communicate how he's feeling to Bree. So I just wanted to see if you can get a bit of an insight from your perspective in terms of maybe why he's struggling to be able to communicate in communicating with Bree.
Me?
Yes, Stephanie.
Okay, all right. So I think it stemmed from like what he was not provided when he was young. So we know that Vince has romanticized ideal of like marriage and love and what so desperately is seeking, and so he's trying to create that, but he's trying to get from a place of imagination and not necessarily being a mirror or anything, whether that's doing the same or the opposite of what he's seen. And for some reason he holds back what he feels, and he hopes that she responds so he would respond. I think that the friends of this episode were like the MVP, because if you have that are involved in your marriage, which I do not, advise heavily at all, you might have one or two that you seek counsel. They really have to be about the marriage, not necessarily just team you. And so his friend held him accountable and saying, listen, like you don't need to expect what you would do. You can't expect her to be like you. Personally, I think Vincent is too sensitive. I think he's like romanticized this whole experience to the point where it's not like realistic for him, which is why he's struggling. Like, she should have come and helped me. Now Bree, yes, she needs to soften her edges. We've seen her be like direct in a way that could be rude, but I feel his buzzword disrespect. And like, I feel like everything is falling under disrespect for him, where the main issue is that he doesn't communicate effectively. He doesn't communicate at all, but he doesn't communicate effectively enough for her to know. So he's holding her accountable to something that he's not set up. There are no rules of engagement for, here are my boundaries, or here what releases me or triggers me. So there's a lot, but I feel it really stems from what he's lacking, and he wants this thing to be perfect. And it's, it's really insecurity also. He wants to vent beautifully, and it's not. And instead of like turning it around and, oh my God, I spilled the champagne, it's like the whole night is ruined because he's not this suave guy. I think it's realistic.
Appreciate that, Steph. Thanks. If I ask August love story, and I guess this will also go to Jack and Glenn after as well. In terms, obviously, that scene there where they are talking, and on the bed, and Vinny's struggling. I mean, he is struggling to communicate, bruv. Like, I feel like he made an excuse, like, oh, you should know, but it's like he's really struggling to communicate. So I guess obviously, in your perspective, if you were struggling to communicate to your partner, how would you handle such an occasion? Because it's tough. I'm looking at him and I'm like, brother, I want to just go upside his head and say to him, bro, just speak your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell her what you're up to. But I don't know, how did you guys perceive it to be, and how would you solve such an issue if that was to come up in your relationship?
The way I would handle it, or the way that I would think to handle it, is to directly say, this is what bothers me. And if I can't think of a sugar-coated way to say something, I'm just going to say it how it comes up. And you just have to receive it whatever way you receive it. It may be mean. It may be, you take it however you want to, but this is how I'm feeling directly. So it's no misunderstanding of what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest problem. Like everybody has said, his communication issues. There's a communication issue with him and how he expressed things and what he's thinking. Like the friend telling him, like, hey man, you overreacting. You finna go home because of, she said whatever she said. I don't remember what she said per se, but the fact that he was telling him, man, you can't do that. Like, you're overreacting at this point. It's he just has to get better and get adjusted to communicating with her. Like, that's the biggest thing that he's gonna have to do. And I don't think Bree, like, we've seen where Bree could be like mean and just straightforward with her things, but I don't think it's a on purpose thing. I don't think she's like directly trying to be malicious to him or talk down to him. It's just how it's coming out. It sounds brash, but hey, it is what it is. So, I mean,
yeah, I would even go as far as saying that one of the things that Vincent needs to do is figure out exactly what it is that's triggering him, instead of just saying it's disrespect. If you can identify what that particular trigger is and how that trigger makes you feel, and then articulate what that trigger is to her, I think that can solve a lot of it. Because it's not just that she said classic Vinny, it's the feeling that he felt when she said classic Vinny. And he needs to be able to articulate that better to say, hey, it's not that I said it's classic Vinny, because putting on your shoes every day could be classic Vinny. It's something that you do every day. But being able to go through and say, hey, this is what you said. This is what I heard. This is how we need to move past it. Instead of just saying, don't say that anymore, because she's not going to say that, but she's going to say something else. And then that's going to trigger him all over again.
Good points. Good points.
Good Lord, Chica. Yes.
Yeah.
Jack and Glenn. The same thing goes to you guys. I mean, like, what was your perspective on the lack of communication, I guess, from Vince's side, and how would you guys deal with such a situation as well?
Well, I was going to say, just like Artika, be able to say and articulate, this triggered me because XYZ. When somebody said this to me, this is what that said to me. And then even what Talisa said, it may be a cultural thing, not being used to communicating my feelings like that, addressing my feelings, and also dealing with a woman like Brianna, because honestly, I mean, she was joking maybe, and she's got kind of like a dry sense of humor with that. Like, sometimes, like, me and my husband, sometimes, like, he'll joke with me, but it looked real serious when he said it. And I'm like, I don't know if you playing or not, and it's not necessarily a laugh after. It's like, he's not going to get that this quick in. And just like she's not going to get it this early in for you to say, you should know. No, you're going to assume anybody knows anything. You're going to have to tell them, especially 10, 11 days in, you're going to have to tell them they don't know you, And so, Vinny has to be able to say, I know you don't know me. This is my background. This is what, it's just like I'll take like the chubby kid growing up. As you get grown, those chubby kid jokes and stuff, you take that with you. And it's like somebody say something, you like, it takes you back to 10-year-old you. They don't know that. And they might not have been anything by it. So you have to express that to them. And I just want to go back real quick. I said anyway, I was like, I was praying that Vinny, I was like, I prayed Vinny had enough sense that he did not leave. And man, my heart was so good. I was like, oh yay, he didn't leave. He got to the parking lot, was like, you know what, this is dumb. I got a responsibility. Let me turn around. And then, like Stephanie said, and his friend Jalen was like, bruh, I mean, the laugh, I was thinking the same thing. He's like, really? Really? You left over that? Man, stop. Be for real. So, yeah, his friend encouraged him, don't be so quick to make assumptions. Don't be so quick to give up, And so in communication, it's going to take some time for them to find a good, that sweet spot for communication. Yeah. Shoot. And that's not necessarily going to be before the experiment is over. You're going to have to work on that.
One thing I want to say, too, I think Stephanie said it when she was talking, they got to understand, they got to have rules to engagement. They got to understand what the rules are in our communication. What's the rules in our conversation? So many times we see all these couples, they sit down and they talk about everything else. They talk about money. They talk about sex. They talk about, dog, who's keeping whose dog. But they never talk about some of the serious things about how do we handle each other if we upset? How do we handle each other if there's a disagreement? How do we handle each other if there is a problem? This, to me, is where the experts should be coming in at. this to me is something when Brianna and Vincent, next time they meet the experts, he needs to bring this up. And when whichever expert, Dr. Pepper or, whether it's Pastor Cal or Dr. Brianna, need to have this discussion and help him go through this process of being able to communicate. And I think he said something, and we found out in this episode too, what was the biggest issue. It wasn't really what she said. He was just embarrassed. And he didn't know how to handle the embarrassment. So now, think about when he went back to, 15, 16, 17-year-old Vinny, I embarrassed myself in front of my girl. I embarrassed myself on that. Again, cameras around. I embarrassed myself in front of production. I embarrassed myself in front of the world. The world's going to see me spilling champagne on my shirt and hearing her say, "Oh, it's so Vinny of you." So he processed all that in his mind, and he felt embarrassed. And so being embarrassed by your girl and being embarrassed in front of other people, he didn't know how to communicate that and to communicate that to Brianna. And so when he didn't know how to communicate that, his friend said it. The first thing he wanted to do was run. He wanted to leave. So now he realized, okay, I can't leave. One thing I do give him kudos about, he didn't go sleep in another bedroom. That means they came and slept there together. Whatever that to me meant a lot, because that means they at least were together until this moment. And when they woke up, the first person they saw was each other. And so they could have that communication first thing in the morning. He could have even tabled the communication. You know what, right now, Brianna, I'm mad, I'm upset. Can we deal with this in the morning? But you don't do that day 10 or day 11. You do that after you've been around for a while. So your spouse say, you know what, let's table this for a minute. Let me gather my thoughts. Let me come back in the morning so I can articulate myself. And there's a lot of ways to do it. And my last point is, if you can't articulate yourself verbally, you can write it down. And write your feelings and your thoughts down, and then come back to it later. And if you can't articulate that to your partner, write it and hand it to your partner and let them read it, and you sit there and be quiet.
And just to even piggyback off Talisa, what you said about the language, someone actually put a point here to extend to what you've said, which is obviously Talisa Ray bring out a great point with the language barrier. As someone whose first language isn't English, when you're in your feelings, it's hard to speak another language. I actually never took that into consideration. So maybe you have a really good point there as well, Talisa. There is a question as well that's come through. And I think this, I know we're talking about married at first sight, but I think this will help some people as well. Question is, should we try to work on our triggers so that people don't have to walk on eggshells around us? Or should triggers remain hot and ready? If I can get like a minute from each of you, just a minute, answering the questions, and we'll go back to the show. So if I start with Jack and Glenn, because you're the last person to speak, just give us a minute, 1 minute.
1 minute. I think we should work on our triggers. I think as we grow up and as we get older and we get more mature, we recognize what our triggers are. Whether you trigger somebody lying to you, whether you trigger somebody raising their voice, whether you trigger somebody smacking you in the back of your head, whether you trigger somebody talking about your mama. So, whatever case may be, you recognize what your triggers are because you've been put in that situation before. And as adults, we should recognize and how to handle our triggers, and know if we can't handle our triggers, find the help to get us to handle our triggers. Because I think there's a lot of people who don't understand how to handle their triggers or how to cope with somebody says something to them, cope with disappointment, cope with embarrassment, cope with anything. So when you recognize what your trigger is and you know that you can't handle it yourself, try to find some help so somebody can help you handle your triggers.
Beautiful. Love it. August Love Story, if I can get you as well. 1 minute.
Absolutely, yes. I think that you should work on your own triggers, but you have to be able to identify the triggers. And I think that is the tricky part of triggers. You don't realize that something is a trigger. You just, for lack of better words, like Vincent does, he treats it as views it as disrespect, not necessarily that it is an actual thing that he is triggered by. I know that there are still triggers that I have in my relationship, and we're 7 years into this. And so I've had to step back when he points things out to me that I do and say, you know what, maybe I was wrong in that. Let me try to figure out what it is that I was triggered by that made me act in that way. So it doesn't always work out, but it is at least when someone else can point it out to you nicely or not so nicely that you can at least attempt to work
on it. Appreciate it.
That's it.
Stephanie?
Yeah, so I definitely think you should work on your triggers. I think there are certain things that you'll always be triggered by that people, especially spouse, just in this conversation, this dynamic, your spouse have to respect and steer away from. But there are also triggers that you need to work on and find a way to work through, because it's not the person's problem. Like with this thing, Rihanna and Vincent, like it's Vincent being sensitive because there's some impurity there based on something in the past. And now this current person is paying for this trigger that is being projected on them from like 20 years ago. And really some of these triggers, you need to get over it. Like it's not that person's problem to have to kind of skirt around your triggers all the time. So that to me is the most important thing. Like there are certain things that, yes, people have to be mindful. For example, somebody in the Army, they might be triggered by certain that never go away, but certain things that happened years ago, you have to work through them and mature and move on.
Good points. Talisa, should we work on our triggers?
Yes, we should absolutely work on our triggers. Just to kind of piggyback on what Stephanie said, triggers are part of some trauma that we have had in our past. Whatever that trauma is, little or big, something occurred that made you react in a particular way. And so with that being said, in order to work on your triggers and to deal with the trauma, you have to know yourself. So you have to take time and really be by yourself and understand what it is that moves you in a way that upsets you. Because when we say triggers, we don't think about triggers being happy thoughts. We think about triggers being things that upset us, that make us go off. So we have to really take a look at ourselves. Who are we? Why am I in this space? Is it something that someone else has someone else's issue that I've grown attached to? Your friend getting to something happened, it's an abusive relationship, and he used the word "be" all the time, and so now you're triggered because your friend was triggered, right? So is it something that you're holding on for yourself, or is it someone else? And then someone said something in the chat that was really important. The people that trigger you most are those that you are closest to, those that you are intimate with. They know exactly what buttons to push, and though Vincent and Bree aren't there, they will be, right? So I know my mother upsets me. Like she can say 2 words and I feel like I'm going to go to the left. And I instantly say, you know what, Mom, I'm going to go ahead and go. And you always running. Yes, it is for the sake of our relationship because I feel away, right? So if we know ourselves and what moves us, even if it's just the feeling, that feeling that rises when you get ready to get triggered, we're able to say, you know what, I'm going to take a deep breath and step away for a moment because I'm triggered. And now that I see exactly what this is and how often it occurs, I can work on it. I think I went over my 60 seconds, but I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. I appreciate you. Oh, okay, cool. So, I know Bree and Vincent had a very short segment anyway on the thing because it was just between that conversation and then obviously him talking to his friend. So it was quite a short one, but I appreciate you guys' thoughts on that. Obviously, we had Eric and my best friend Vodka on the show, and she's truly earned that name now because I was stunned. The girl went on a wedding bender. And 4 days she went away for, and she came back drunk and still came back to party again. Okay, I was concerned before. I am majorly scared now. Like, do you know what I mean? But how did you guys take the conversation that Eric had with the best friend? Now I'm sure probably production got involved, but if we take that aside, how did you feel about that particular conversation, and was it a correct kind of conversation to have? Should it have been the friend coming to him to talk about it? Should Eric have pulled him first? Because there's all sorts of dynamics in this particular situation that could have gone left or right or whichever way you see it. So what are your thoughts on that situation with Eric and Virginia and the best friend situation? I'll go August first.
I don't really know what to say about that conversation. I felt like it was more so of a let's try to get you guys to be cool with me spending the night at this guy's house. He's never going to be cool with it. I don't see the point in them doing, like, in that particular conversation happening, because as her husband or as a husband, I don't see him ever being okay with that behavior at all. And I mean, rightfully so. But I'm not married to Virginia, so I don't have a dog in that fight. But I think that was pretty much what they were trying to do, was just put it together to say, hey, this is my friend. You should be comfortable with my friend. So when I say I'm going out drinking with Cole, this is Cole. You know Cole. He's okay. And it's just never going to be that.
I think that conversation didn't get to the root of, and they probably did talk about more, but I don't feel like they addressed that issue with directly saying, hey man, why has I don't want I was finna call the girl Vodka. What is her name,
Virginia.
man? Virginia. I don't want her to be sleeping over your house. Like, how, just directly saying, hey, how do you feel about that? Because all of us know, like, that's the wrong thing for her to do. Like, you get drunk and you need to, you call me. Here I come. I'm your knight in shining armor. I'm your Superman. I'm your everything. Here I come to save you. Even though your friend is there, even though y'all been friends for a very long time, you're married now. That's it. It's your husband, wife, and then everything else. So I just feel like that conversation, and it's probably more. They might have talked about it, but I just feel like they would. They just need to. The conversation didn't go where it needed to go. As far as that part. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Talisa.
Well, when he pulled him to the side, for me, it felt like Virginia had talked to him previously and said, listen, this is what's happening in my relationship. He is not going to let me spend the night. I'm not going to be able to hang out. I'm not going to be able to do what we normally do on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because he made a point to say, it's blah, 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 all five of them. And this is what we do on a regular basis. It was as if he was talking to him to coax him into saying, you know what, this is regular. So get used to it. And don't try to control Virginia. Don't try to control her, because if you do, then it's not going to look good, because this is who we are and this is what we do. And you can't come in between that. And so I recommend, let her have her way. That's the way the conversation read to me. And I feel like it was inappropriate. I feel like, well, let me not say inappropriate. Had it been Eric asking for his advice, he probably could have shared it and it would not have felt so, I don't know, scripted. So, you know what I mean? It didn't feel so rehearsed, like this is what we sat down to talk about. And you can see visibly, was it Cole or was it Lane, whichever one, that he was a little nervous at first when he started talking, because it wasn't his conversation to have.
Yeah.
It was him telling Eric from Virginia's point of view, right? And so I also feel like when we talked about having the conversation, Tommy, when he said he should have said this is what she wants. At this point, Eric, I feel like, should have said, well, I don't mind her going out with you guys occasionally, right? But what's off the table is her spending the night. Like Amen. At this point, and he should have brought Virginia into the conversation just so that it could be had and there is no misunderstandings that this is where I stand. So I don't know. I definitely feel like Eric, though he shares with everybody else how he feels, he's not sharing it in a way that in the language that Vodka or Virginia understands, right? He's not sharing it, because we got love languages, but we have languages on how we communicate. And so we have to think about, are they understanding? Am I speaking on the level that they understand so that they can get what I'm saying? And I think he needs to figure out, how do we do that? Because she's a mess. And the one thing I remember when he said, he said, I got everything. Most importantly, the beer. I thought, come on, Virginia. The beer? Seriously, that's the most important thing? The beer? How about put that food in some nice dishes or something? I don't know. That's my own pet peeve. Y'all don't invite me to your house and we eating out them cartons because I'm clowning, okay? Just so we know. It's clear.
Oh, man, I love that. Jack and Glenn, and then we'll get Stephanie on as well. Jack and Glenn, go for it.
I like what you said about the fact that, the conversation really could have went left. And I think that's probably why Cole was a little nervous too, because I agree with Talisa. It probably wasn't. Virginia set the whole conversation up, because he even used some of her words like, don't be so controlling. He's using words that she said, that he's heard her say before. And so Cole was nervous coming in because, again, they don't know each other. Maybe Eric would have felt some of that energy that he brought to the table with Chris and be like, well, I don't want to talk to you. Who are you to tell me whatever? He might have, but I think he caught him in a lull where he knew it wasn't going to be like that, but still Cole was nervous. But I think, it would have been better for Eric and Virginia and Cole to have the conversation, because I'm not married to you, Cole. That's nice. And then, like you said, Eric should have said, that's cool, because I noticed that too, how he was like, it's not just me, it's not just him, it's the 5 of us. We always hang out. So what that mean? Y'all having an ORG? Is that what would make you feel better? Maybe the 5 of y'all. This is not no. So it was like he's trying to build it up, like it's not just us, trying to build the case for it's okay, she can stay. But I feel like Eric could have stood up in that moment and say, well, I don't mind y'all hanging out, but no, it's no spending the night, because Virginia really needs to understand that. And I'm sure we've all experienced this. When you go into your marriage, not that you lose your friends, your relationship with your friends changes. You can't hang out with them as much because you're trying to build with the person you're married to. You're trying to get to know this person. And the more time I spend away from this person is the more time that I don't get to know them and get close to them. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like not an interference, good or bad. It's like an interference. Right?
Yeah, real quick, one point I want to add with that is this, even though all 5 of y'all hang out, guess what? When you got married, you didn't get married. He didn't marry all the 4 of the people. He married Virginia. And I guess she has to understand that he married her. And so now if you want to hang out with him, that's cool. But guess what? You wouldn't want me to stay at my 5 girls' house. You know what I'm saying? Would you have a problem if I stood at 5 girls' house? If you even look at the party, there was nobody there but dudes. Virginia was the only girl that was there, which tells you she feel comfortable with just hanging out with guys. Yeah. So now you a married woman, just comfortable hanging out with guys, and you're drunk. Anything can happen. Again, it's my job, the responsibility to take care of you. And at the same time, Cole, you're a grown dude. Don't do her dirty work. Bring her in. Again, I think one of y'all said it. Don't let there be any hearsay. Eric, if you want to be a man in front of her and say, guess what? Here's what I expect. Cole, I want you to understand this is my wife, and I expect her, if she's that drunk, I expect you as her friend for this long to make sure she gets home safely and not sleep on your couch. Whether you call her an Uber. Matter of fact, Cole, here's my phone number. So if Virginia ever gets sloppy drunk around you, guess what? I need you to call me. So Eric had an opportunity to set boundaries with Cole in Virginia right then and there, and I think he missed the opportunity to.
I hear that. Stephanie, I'm guessing you're also joined by your husband. Is it Edmund?
Yes.
Am I correct? Yes, I got the name right. Hello, Edmund. How you doing? Welcome
you got
to the
it right.
conversation.
We have some tea and crumpets together afterwards.
Yeah. I'm ready for you. Don't worry. Welcome to the conversation as well, Edmund. Thank you very much. So what are you guys' thoughts on the conversation between Eric and his Virginia's friend? What was your kind of thoughts around that conversation? And also as well, is that something that you would expect to happen in a day-to-day situation in a relationship where the friend would come and pull your hubby to come have a conversation about being okay with you sleeping on a couch? I don't know if that would make
So I feel bad for Eric because Virginia should have never been. Virginia does not want to be married. She wants a 6th member to party hard with and get drunk with. Jeez. That conversation for me was like, you know how your mom would say no to you? You send your friend, you're like, go ask if I can sleep over.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've talked cash trash with my friend and I'm going to send him to go talk to you. Virginia I'm just trying to imagine myself in that situation, but the reality is like who she is allowed that, because I would never make anybody feel comfortable enough to go speak to my husband on behalf of me about some foolishness like that. So I think the whole thing stems from the fact that Virginia really did not want to be married. I don't know what she thought this was. I don't know if she thought it was Married at First Sight. Just kidding. But She just really wants to party hard. That conversation should have never happened because you can tell that she's been complaining to a friend about him and he overstepped. But once again, Eric could have set boundaries and he didn't, because I feel like Eric is going to explode because you can keep you see him every episode saying this is how it should be. This is what marriage is. And I think that he can get a little preachy. You know, I feel like he does have he's very regimented in a way that could be a little off-putting. I feel like he is so scared that something that could go great is going to get sabotaged by her. Like she will undo what could possibly be. And so that's why you get this real anxious energy from him where he keeps saying, this is what needs to be, or he keeps bringing up concerns because she's not in it. She's not in it like he is. And I think they did a disservice to him, somebody who's been married already with her, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's kind of difficult because I'm thinking about a situation and it just would never be in that situation. But I'll just say from a premise standpoint, I just think, and this goes for not only him, but I think some of the other things that happen in the other episodes is that I think the wife should try to mitigate and set boundaries as much as possible before bringing the husband in, especially with the way Stephanie and I are made up. I got 5 sisters. I'm from Detroit. I don't talk at all. Like if I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna say one line. And I think the gentleman on this one of them said in the last one was like, bro, I'll say something very similar to, hey, here's the boundary. You know, you're out. This is out of line. This is what I don't like. And that's the last time I'm gonna have any words. The next thing is gonna be flying fists. Like I'm just very protective. Stephanie knows that. And whether I win or lose, that's the thing. I don't care about winning or losing. I'm just here to inflict pain. Like that's what my whole goal is. Like it's going to, we're going to both be like, man, we did that because it's hurt both of us every night. So if I'm a psychologist, just like he just said, he missed an opportunity. If that was the case, we're not going to really have a long conversation.
Yeah,
y'all are friends. Y'all been friends. But here's the bound. Here's where I am. My wife is not sleeping over. She's not getting that drunk. I don't even want it to get to that point. And I'm going to have a conversation with her. But I really think she should have just womaned up and said that. Like, I'm married now. Those types of things. Like, even me, I'm a frat. I can't be drunk at the frat house anymore and sleep at the frat. What? I can't do that. You know, so if you, and she's new into the marriage, but I think there would be a limit on how long that lasts. And if you have to go through the friend to say that, like, bro, man to man, this can't be forever. You know, here's what I expect. Call me. Call an Uber or what have you, but I really wouldn't even want to be in that position at all. I'd rather her kind of, if she couldn't handle it, then that'll come my step in. Because if I show up and she at that, they already know it's going down. Like it's the conversation to be had. Unfortunately.
Love that.
Everyone meet my crazy husband, Edmund.
I'm sorry.
Nothing about it, baby. Nothing crazy about it.
Even from jail. No, I'm
just establishing the boundaries.
That's real.
That's real. He's keeping it 100%.
You know, like the rest of the guys on here, I could respect them saying that to me as well, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? So if your intentions are pure, you shouldn't have an issue with it.
Right.
Good points. Question. So obviously, I know I don't want to spend too much time on Eric and Virginia, but there obviously is a flip side. Is Eric also a little bit controlling, or is he just like anxious? Is he a little bit maybe too anxious with it? Because this 1 hour, 2 hour text me is problematic. I'm sorry. 1 2 hour text me, sir. Okay, we are busy. Okay, on her 4 day bender. She doesn't need 1 2 hour. Let me ask a question. Let me ask you guys a question. So is that too much? Is that just dependent on the relationship that you guys have? 1 or 2 hours expecting a text from the individual person, and he didn't make a mistake. He didn't make a mistake when he said 1 or 2 hours. He meant it. In fact, he wanted it probably every half an hour. He was saying he was being generous. So, what's you guys' thoughts on very very quickly? What's you guys' thoughts on that? I'll go to Lisa and then go around.
I mean, you start with the woman that has no one on the side of her.
Me and you both.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hello.
Me and you both, baby. Me and you both. Don't worry.
We're together. Okay, so listen. Single together. So the thing is, for me, it was too much. Right? You know where I am. Even when I was married, there was no way I was going to call him or have him call me every hour, every 2 hours. That's ridiculous. Like, I can't even enjoy the festivities of the wedding for you calling and me have to say, oh, yeah, no, I'm okay. We're just doing shots, or we're going, to have brunch. Like, it's too much. He is a bit over controlling, overbearing. It's a lot. And I think a lot of it has to do with, he thinks that she's so gorgeous. He's so smitten with her youthfulness. And so he really wants her to be with him because for him, she is a true, so to speak. Now, I don't agree with that. Like, I think, I have my own opinions about aesthetics, but I also feel like she's not ready. They're in, like he always says, they're in a boyfriend-girlfriend situation. And that's what it comes off as versus a marriage. But he is all of that to go back to, yes, he is very controlling. That one calling every hour, every other hour is too much for anybody. Anybody. Even if we are clingy and have to be together all the time, even that is still too much when we know that I'm away and I'm doing a specific thing that we've already discussed. But again, I'm a widow. I'm over here by myself. What do I know? One of these married people going to tell us something.
Don't wait till your point is valid, all right? We got you. Stephanie and Edmund, very, very quickly. 1 or 2 hours, is that too much? Is that just honeymoon phase type of energy? 1 or 2 hours? Just very, very quickly, what your point is? Too much?
It's too much. They have to meet in the middle, and that's the thing. Communication is key throughout marriage, but definitely at the beginning, especially with this. She's so far left, he's so far left, she's so far right. They just need to say, here, this is what I'm willing to do. If he every 1 or 2 hours, which I think is ridiculous, then, and she says, I don't need that. So maybe let's check in. If I'm on a trip at a wedding, like, let me live. Maybe let's check in a few times a day. You got 24 hours, like a few calls, and that's good. I don't think he needs to bend to him because so insecure. But I definitely think that she does need to be flexible.
I'll just say quickly, I just think that I'll just use the motto of seek to understand before seeking to be understood. And when I do that, I think that Eric comes from a family of a pilot and another pilot in traffic control, et cetera. They're used to communicating every hour to talk about safety. I mean, that's his life, just like a police officer is used to being authoritative. But I think they're around you like, look, you're not flying. We're not in the skies. Now, him checking in before a flight and afterwards, total sense. But her, I don't think so. I think they need to just have that communication. With his dad being a pilot, I think he's just used to that.
I love that. Good point. Because I was saying 1 or 2 hours is crazy. I love that.
Yeah, it is.
August, give us your point of view.
I always thought Eric gave dad vibes when he talks to Virginia. like I just keep forgetting that name slipped my mind. But nah, he talks to her like she's a 6-year-old that just got her driver's license, and it's like, hey, don't wreck the car. Come back at a certain time. You got to do this when you get in the car. Let me know where you're going and stuff like that. And I get why, but it's not. It's unnecessary. She's 26. She's grown at the end of the day. So you gotta like, hey, you gotta go with it. I'm in a relationship with a grown woman. This is not my child, and I'm gonna treat her like a grown woman. And so I think that's where his controllingness goes. I think it's too much what he's doing. Like, hey, every hour, 2 hours, text me. Like, if Artika leaves, hey, let me know you got there. Let me know if you need anything. Other than that, have a good time, man. Like, call me when you're on your way back. If you need to talk to me while you're driving, call me. But other than that, man, go do your thing, because, like, I'm enjoying my time by myself. Or if it's me and my daughter, like, we enjoying our time. So, yeah, that's my take. So, Artika had to step off for a little second.
That's all right. No worries. No worries.
She need to text where she at.
She'll come.
She need to text you wherever she is right now.
Right. You all right?
That's a good one. Jack and Glenn?
Well, when you started the question, when you asked, was Eric too controlling? At first I was like, no, but then I forgot. Yeah, this 1 and 2 every other hour thing. I'm like Tommy, let me know when you get there. Let me know when you leave. If you in between riding in the car, we can talk. But I don't expect you to stop what you're doing to give me a call. You know, it's too much. I think Stephanie said, you too anxious. Too anxious is your nerves bad or something. You know, you just gotta check in. And I think it goes to he wants her to miss him. That's what he said. I don't want her to be gone this long and not miss me. So is this how I'm showing I don't miss you? No, that's too much. Just too much.
One, he's needy.
Yeah.
He's too needy, and that's one of the biggest issues. He's needy. The second thing is, with August's wife just leaving for a minute, he can trust her that she's going to take care of what she needs to take care of. He can't trust Virginia because he already knows that. So he's needy. He doesn't have any trust in her, and we got to realize he's been married before. So we don't know what happened in his first marriage that gave him all these insecurities. So he needs to check in. Remember, his first marriage was just a partnership so they can get extra military benefits. You know what I'm saying? So now he doesn't trust in this marriage here. He doesn't really trust Virginia, and he want to make sure, she's in the bender and she's sleeping on somebody's weird couch. Or again, he's too needy. He needs that communication. He needs to be loved because in the first marriage he didn't get that. So he has a mind. In his mind, he has he wants a second marriage to be like. Listen to his conversation. He says, this is what marriage, everything he says, this is what marriage should be like. This is what marriage should be like. So he's already made up in his mind what his marriage should be like. That's why he's always saying, this is what marriage should be like.
Good points. I like that point about marriage should be like. Love that point.
I just want to piggyback really quick on what Glenn said. My question always is, what are you using as your measurement of marriage? Is it your parents' marriage? Is it some ideal that you made up in your head? And I always think that every time he starts talking about what he knows how marriage is, I'm all like, well, who told you that? And your first one didn't work. Did you reevaluate the first one to see what went wrong in the first one to make sure the second one and you're not repeating the same patterns? Like, that was such a good point. I just had to throw my little pickup opinion.
Yeah. No worries. I respect it. There was obviously the other couple. So Haley, do you know what? I just want to briefly touch on Haley with you guys because I think it was an amazing moment with Haley and her friend. I think I called it a masterclass in how to support your friend in a moment where she felt that Haley was feeling weak and was potentially looking to duck out and leave the marriage. And so I want to just quickly go around and just see how you guys thought about that particular conversation and what you took from it between Haley and a friend at dinner. It was a lunch or whatever they were doing. So I thought it was an amazing conversation. So I'll start with Jack and Glenn because you guys were last to speak. What was your kind of thoughts really, really quickly on the Haley and a friend conversation? I don't know what her friend's name is, by the way. I tried to check.
It was Lauren. I think Lauren did a great job.
She looks like
I think Lauren did a great job because she wasn't just taking Haley's side, but she was honest and she was truthful. And she told Haley, look, give it a chance. It's much more than just the 80 stuff. It's much more than that. You're not giving it an opportunity or a chance, and he knows how you are. So you need to go ahead and let your walls down a little bit and try to be comfortable with it. If he's apologizing profusely for what he did, accept that and move on. Now, if you don't accept it, stay where you're at. But if you do accept it, move on and try to build a relationship. If you don't want the relationship, go ahead and tell him you don't want the relationship. But basically, be honest with him and let it move on and move forward. If you're going to grow with him, then grow with him. If not, hey, bounce deuces and bounce. But I like how her friend Lauren was always honest. And you got to have a friend like that. And I say you don't let everybody in your marriage, but you do have to let a friend to look from the outside. I think I used the analogy last week about what a boxer. A boxer have cornermen for a reason. Because when you're in the midst of this thing, you don't see everything. When you're in the midst of the thing, you miss something. But your cornerman, who you pay well, is there looking on to see what goes on and what can they adjust to make you do better. So you have that one friend say, you know what, that can be honest with you and be like, look, your stuff stink right now, and I need you to fix it. And so then, and I think that's what Lauren was to her to make her think. Now, do I think Haley was genuine after that? No, because I think she's already checked out.
Yep.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, it takes a friend to say, girl, you always XYZ. You be ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. One little thing, you be ready to jet. Come on, stay for a minute and know that, is it really the 80s stuff? It's something else. Try to pull it out of her. Like, it can't be that. almost like like Jalen did for Vincent. Like for that, you gonna leave for that. So Haley, Lauren was there for Haley to be like, no, think a little bit deeper. It's not just that. What else is it? What else is it? And can you get past it? Give the man some grace. He's apologizing. He's apologetic. So, work with him from here. Help a brother out. But if you're done, you're done. But give it some time. I think our pastor said that this morning. So somebody tell you got something on the back of your head. You can't say, I know my head. Ain't nothing on the back of my head. When the person is looking at the back of your head, you can't see the back of your head. So they're telling you, hey, look, I know how you are. Come on, girl. You love to throw a boyfriend away, man. He tied his shoes wrong. You like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. No.
That's the trash to be out.
I appreciate Jack and Glenn. August Love, if I get you guys' opinions as well around Haley and her friend's conversation. What was your kind of thoughts?
That was Haley needed to hear that. Like she's at this point she's making up a reason to like not want to go through with this guy. And like she said, all this time like you don't like the way he dresses. I mean, her job in the like, I ain't gonna say her job, but something that she can actually do is help him dress better. If that's what you don't like, assist him with dressing, because I can tell you right now, like a lot of guys can't dress until that lady come in their life and they be like, well, what if I wear this? Or a lot of girls can't dress and the dude come in their life and they be like, man, I don't think that look right on you. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the biggest issue, give it more effort. Her friend telling her, give it more time, give it more effort and stuff like that. So it was something that she needed to hear, for sure.
No, absolutely. I agree. Haley was reaching with, I won't say reaching, but she was picking out the wrong reasons and not identifying what her real reason is for why she does not like him or whatever her disconnect is. Because we can get over graphic tees. We can get over neon lights. Like you tell him, and he mentioned this on Unfiltered, if you give me a room in this house that I can trick out as an 80s room, you can have the rest of the house. I don't care what the rest of the house looks, but I have to have this nostalgia for whatever reason up until he's 8 years old. In this one particular space in the house. So I think that she doesn't want to admit what the actual reason is behind her not wanting to be with him. And her friend saw through it. And she said, okay, well, if these are the reasons that you're saying it is, you can move past both of those. Let's get over it and move on. Like, you don't want you to be the reason that you have a failed marriage because he's trying and you're not.
I love that point. Stephanie Lee and Edwin, what's your guys' thoughts?
So I like that her friend held her accountable. She was basically like, okay, all I'm hearing is this. But I'm as over Haley as she is Jacob, because Jacob is, he's quirky. He's definitely a unique guy. He's nice. He's trying. He's genuine. And I think she's arrogant. I think she thinks more of her than she is. And I also think that she has never had an adult relationship. So she too should have not been paired, because the last relationship she had was 7 years ago. She's 28, which means it was a 21. And you only think adulthood is 21 when you're 21. But when you're more individual, like all of us on here, you know better. Her issues are her. It's not the neon. It's not the 80s. There's a reason why these continuing patterns of having a few dates, because her friend said that for the matchmaking, having a few dates and then shutting down or finding a reason and never being able to sustain a relation or be in a relationship for the past 7 years. The problem is you. It's not his graphic tees. So, I don't think it's going to work out, because I think she is checked out, but I'm glad she has those friends. But she has to be willing to listen to those friends too. Otherwise, it'll be the next guy, and whatever issue comes up with them, they might hold her accountable. But if she's not really willing to look in the mirror, then she's going to find herself the same continuous roller coaster.
I just want to know, Steph and the rest of y'all, do y'all think it had anything to do with the bedroom action? Because, it kind of went downhill. I'm just curious.
That's what he said.
Last week I called it lazy doodle, and that's what he got when he didn't like it.
You got it down. I thought you might have been singing a different tune. I don't know. You can look. You can pass the
She got drunk sex and can't remember. she got drunk sex and can't remember.
It's a bad combination.
And she ain't trying again. She's not trying.
She ain't trying again. Yeah.
Oh, she remembers. It wasn't any good. That's what she remembers.
I didn't say that. The question, quiet. We on mute. I'm done.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Talisa, go for it.
So I'm all like, everybody needs a friend like Lauren. Everyone needs a friend who knows you well enough to know that what your triggers are is that you don't like somebody and you run, you don't want to put the work in. But I had wanted to just tell Stephanie, like, you hit the nail on the head with she doesn't know herself well enough, and that's why she is commitment phobia-ish, as her other friend said, when it's actually she doesn't know her, doesn't really like her. And so because I don't like me, I don't like you either. And every little thing that you do, I'm going to nitpick at. I'm going to this is a problem. This is a problem. Because like you said, you could take one room and it could be 80s tricked out and no one ever has to see it. It could be the garage. It could be your man cave. No one has to see it. And he doesn't dress so bad, but it is more than just the way he looks, right? I mean, more than the dress itself. She's not attracted to him aesthetically, period. He's probably too bulky for her. It's the, perspiration odor that he has coming out from the steak and eggs. It's the, it's a plethora of things that makes her not like him. Like it's this and this and this. And her friend though was like, this could be good for you. You need somebody that is stable, which Jacob, it seems to be stable. And he's not really boring. He's just an introvert and not really comfortable around people to be able to talk. And if you give him a chance to open up, then guess what? He's going to show you a different side of him. And you're his wife. So like you guys said, I can change the way you dress. It's easy. Because I can say, oh, babe, you look nice in this. I think you look nice in this. Here's this. And he's going to be like, oh, she think I look good. So I'm going to wear it. Ego. Let's stroke it a little bit. I'm cooking dinner. So guess what? With dinner, I get to add some vegetables. And then when you think about the intimacy in the bedroom, listen, you got to know what you like to help them out. And so sometimes you need to give them a little direction. Have a conversation about what it is that you like and what I need in here, because listen, you're not doing it. You could say everything in love and kindness. I feel like anything can be said if it's out of love and you do it with kindness. And I'm going to just go on and sit down because I got my own thoughts about a lot of stuff, y'all, like a lot, like.
You can't
so you think that,
we understand.
So you think that sweaty, drunken onion sex didn't do it?
It wasn't it.
I know that was
it. You guys know it's the truth. You know it's the truth when you eat. Just think about like the smells of people when you're just out and you smell people and it's like, oh no. And so is he walking around smelling like that? You know what I mean? Like smelling like steak and eggs.
And I'll tell you, if
on onions.
From someone who works out, I'll be honest with you, if you eat a lot of red meat, your stomach is going to be releasing a lot of bad vapor. I'll be honest with you, because the meat, as you're chewing the meat, it's been broken down, the proteins, everything like that comes out of you. You understand? Yeah. So your doo-doo and your farts are gonna be dangerous. So you know what I mean. And if you're eating that constantly every single day, that actually begins to affect what comes out your pores. So potentially this could be a very plausible reason as to why the odor may be some way.
And if you think about it, also your breath, like what you eat comes up, and talking to you, and it's offensive. Like it's offensive. Like it's offensive. I can only imagine what she smells, and so I have a thing about smells. Like anybody I date will tell you that I love the way a man smells. Right? I like to sniff them, and so imagine if you're using all your senses. And this man smells funny. You're like, oh yeah, no, this is for me. This isn't it.
It's valid.
It's not good.
It's valid. I can rock with that. It's valid.
Yeah.
Because of time, we're gonna go straight to Chris and to Paige. Because I know you've been waiting for this. Obviously, Chris and Paige, we got to see them on our screens. This episode 8, and as always, it goes down with a bang. But especially this week, we got to see some real fireworks. So what do I mean by that? Well, Chris managed somehow to get his ex-fiance, who's also his mother of his baby, to also come and have a conversation with his wife, okay, on live television, okay, so on Married at First Sight. So there's a lot of things that were going on at once. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that conversation. What are your thoughts on the Paige and the Chris scenario? I'll go with Jack and Glenn first. What is your thoughts on Jack, on Chris and Paige and Mercedes? Sorry, I should say.
You go first, good.
I mean, at first, for real, I was like, Paige owes them nothing. You owe them nothing. You don't have to sit down and talk to them. You don't need to sit down and talk to her. And I said, now, our review, I was like, I feel like when she talked to Chris and she was like, let me pray about it. Let me think about it. I think she came into that meeting because she prayed about it. And the Lord was like, I'm going to tell you, meet with him and do it just like this. And that's why she came out. She came out them guns blazing. That's what I like to think. I'm not saying it happened. But, but she didn't owe them anything. I will say this. She said something that struck me. I was like, why are they dressed like that? And then Chris was like, I'm at the end. I'm ready to go eat. I'm ready to go read my Bible. I'm like, so y'all going to eat together? This is a setup. And then for him to be like, oh, the conversation didn't go like I planned it. Almost, let's go back to Virginia and her friend. So you had this scripted, and you had Mercedes like, I want you to say this, this, and this. But guess who you didn't give the script to? Paige. I'm not getting ready to say what you expect me to say. And she didn't. She was like, because you can see a couple times when Mercedes look was like, oh, what am I supposed to say now? Oh, I hope she wasn't supposed to say that. She was like, oh, I too had a pregnancy scare. Mercedes was like, what? Huh? She looked at Chris like, oh, okay. We talked about the intimacy, but yeah, you didn't tell me that. I wasn't ready for that. We didn't. We didn't. When you go into court before a witness goes into court. Yeah, she wasn't prepped for that. But I don't know. I think both of the women handled it well. They didn't go off the rails at all. It really could have went left on either side. I think they handled it well. But Chris, spoiled, rotten brat, narcissistic, manipulative, all of that. And for him to just sit there, let's go back to the conversation we talked about Eric and Virginia, how the three of them should have been in a conversation with her friend. Chris was sitting there, he did not say a mumbling word, not a word till the end, till he was like, you know what, yeah, I'm done. Just like he did his friend that Pastor Dwight. Oh, I'm done with this conversation.
Because they ganged up on him. He didn't expect it to go that too. One of the biggest issues I had with Chris with the situation was, and Paige, Mercedes has no reason to be bad at Paige. Again, she didn't even know about Paige. But Chris could have told Mercedes that I'm in this process to be married. So she acted like she didn't even know that he was in a process to be on Married at First Sight, which is one of the issues. And with talking to Mercedes, you realize she doesn't know all the details of information what's going on with Paige and Chris. All she knows that this woman is married to him, and that I'm pregnant with his baby, and he wants us to meet. Again, they rode there together. He had conversation with her in the car, like, this is what, I want you to sit down, you meet with Paige, blah, 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 blah. And Paige was like, yo, I'm glad they didn't turn it into no Love and Hip Hop. You can't be on TV beating up a pregnant woman, right? Or putting hands on a pregnant woman. That's not a good look. I know many people wanted Paige to, serve her up a little bit. My 17-year-old daughter, like, yo, I'd have smacked her. So now you can't do that. That's a pregnant. Smacked him. Like, you can't do that. But again, he set them up so they can go at it. And he got the script got flipped because they didn't do that. They were more ladylike. And again, when things didn't go his way, we saw a grown man pouting and not being able to handle his feelings and emotion or articulate what's going on. I mean, he turned into like, I don't say that. He turned soft, right? And it got there and like, you know what, I'm not even going to deal with this. And just started pouting, looking at his phone. Same thing what he did with his boys when they approached him. Again, he reverted back to, you know what, if I can't have my way, I'd rather not say anything. You know, he talked about the game and he talked about it. You know, you ain't going home to read your Bible, because if you would have read your Bible, you would have never got your ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance pregnant anyway. You would have waited till you got married. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If you talk, I mean, if we real, he's talking all this God stuff, but you ain't abstaining from having sex with your ex-fiance. So you look, as a Christian, you're looking both ways. Like, double-minded. Again, and I said, I repeat, he's double-minded. When you double-minded, you understand with all your ways. So again, it's good for me to have sex. Again, unprotected sex, because you didn't have enough sense to wrap up. That's why she's pregnant. You didn't have enough sense to wrap up with your wife, and that's why she thought she was pregnant. Could you imagine if both of them was pregnant at the same time?
Oh.
Could you imagine what would have went down when he went back to Paige? And what we found out today, that would have complicated so much situation if one would have lost it and one would have had it. I'm just done. I'm done.
Man.
That's a whole different review conversation.
Real spit though. August. Real spit.
First thing I'm gonna say is Tamala Man line. Truth is, I'm tired. I am tired of Chris. I am tired of Paige. I am tired of Chris and Paige. Now, Paige did redeem herself on this episode with her coming directly with the facts. I had pure intentions coming into this. And we have to look at it from Paige's standpoint as well. Chris did not cheat on Paige. Paige was willing to accept a child that was on the way, which is a lot more than most women in her position would have done. It would have been a quick, I'm done with this. I'm done with you. I'm not trying to be a stepmom, because I didn't come into this expecting to be a stepmom. I don't really know what Chris's intentions were. My guess by his body language was he wanted them to fight or have some type of altercation, argument, something. Like Paige wasn't giving that. Mercedes wasn't giving that. And they were both kind of like, you know what? We've both been duped by the same guy.
Yep.
And Mercedes was in that situation a little bit deeper than Paige, because Paige can genuinely just say, I'm getting a divorce and I am completely done with this man. Mercedes, at that time, being pregnant, you got an 18-year stint with this man and everything that comes along with him.
Yep.
So I don't really know what the point was, like why they decided to agree to sit down. I don't know what he felt he was going to accomplish or what type of TV he thought he was going to make, but it didn't happen and it didn't go his way. You have something you want to say? Sorry, Tommy and I are trading.
That's all right. Never a problem.
What I was gonna say, I don't get the point of the conversation. What Chris was trying to have with her, with them meeting up, I think that was dumb and a waste of time. But I do get that this episode was the Friends episode, so it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna just bring her in, so they can talk. Chris was very disrespectful to the pastor, wife, and I don't know the other guy, Michael or Michael. Like for him to just check out of the conversation while they're telling him, hey man, you need to commit. You need to do this X, Y, and Z, and he just checks out of the conversation. I would never have another conversation with him. You can't respect talking to me man to man right here and there. Like I don't have no reason to talk to you no more. So but yeah, like that whole conversation was silly. I appreciate Paige stepping up and saying, hey, I came in this thing to be pure, be married, and have all that the good stuff, and learn and everything like that. But I mean, at this point, it's like nothing for them to talk about, nothing for them to say to each other or anything like that. It's like it's a done deal at this point. So, I had something else. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, that's it.
I like that. Yes, Stephanie and Edmund, go for it.
Chris is a clown. Clown. Okay. And Chris brought an additional member to the circus thinking it would pop off and there's going to be a different show. And the spotlight never came on. Paige I really applaud her for holding it down, and being so, I mean, they both did really well, but Paige really, she did really, even when, which I thought was a little shady when he was that she could have been pregnant, and Mercedes was like, by who? I would have said, by my husband. Okay, even as he is my husband today, and you are pregnant from some shenanigans that occurred during this process, but he is committed in front of everyone to me. So I didn't like when she did that, but that just shows you how much has been just telling stories and telling stories. And he is so deeply insecure. It's why he leads with money. He talks about money all the. It's why he attracts, women up until this point who wanted him for his things, because he can control that. And if a woman is only interested in what you can do for her, then she can take or leave all the other stuff. Yeah. And he can take it as, oh, she's in me. She's not into you. She's into what you can do for her. Paige really, even her body language, her affect into that conversation was like peacocking in a way. She just was so much lighter, and she felt like she really did understand and finally believe that she deserved better, because she knew it, and you saw that in these episodes, but she was struggling. And I think it's because she's like, this is going to be, so technically I'm married, so whatever, even if he's dragging me in the mud, because this might result in me staying married and it not being a divorce, when that's the best thing. Fortunately, the way it happened, that's the best thing for them. But I think that conversation was meant to make him feel good. It was meant for these two women to come and argue, over him, which often happens. Like, a lot of women miss the fact that they're not committed to each other. You're committed to this one fool over here. But they turned it around and they had a conversation, and they almost clowned him because even Mercedes, child, I don't even know if I'm going to be bothered with him. Like, that's absolutely not happening right now. So not only did they not argue, but they taught him like in a way that didn't make him look that great, which he isn't, while he was there. And of course he always does. He threw a tantrum. So he had, again, impure intentions with this conversation, and it didn't work out, just this whole marriage. That's what I think.
Chris is he's so child. That dude is soft as baby food. I mean, dude is so he's tenderoni. But the thing about him, I got a couple bullets on this whole situation. Number one, I think he brought Mercedes in because he's like, yo, I'm on TV, wanting airtime. That was the whole MOB. And then the other is, I got a different take on why I think he even said that. I think Chris used to have his cake and eating it too. And I think Chris wanted his cake and his cookies. And I figured he wanted to try to find a way. How can I get out of here clean with both of them in a way, or at least some type of way, in my child and still raise the family? I really think if Chris was born a long time ago, he would have just had a like, really, I feel like he would have that life if they would go for it. So that was another thing that I thought was there. The part where he said the Bible, I really don't like when people use the Bible like that. I really just, because he's talking about, I'm gonna get my Bible. Well, that book actually reads you. So that's the only book that reads you back. And I don't think you would like what you would actually see. And speaking of, so you want to read the Bible, but you don't want to listen to your pastor. Come on, brother. Like, really? Right. Your pastor. And like the brother said, like, he's around a pastor maybe because he's got more peace and forgiveness, but that would have been the last conversation ever. You look down at me like, what type of man doesn't look another man, number one? Then you're going to say the conversation is over. Like, bro, okay, we done, period. And I think what needs to happen with that young man when he storms off, people need to not follow him. I didn't like when Vince followed him. He should just go there by himself, and that be the end of it. So used to being a baby. He's a little mama's boy, so soft that it's terrible. And then with Paige, I think she handled it better than most. I kind of wanted to see this, I don't know, maybe a little early in this whole scenario, but I'm glad it's better late than never. So I'm glad she stood up for herself. And hopefully we don't see any surprises moving forward and her, forgiving him. This is not where you want to be Christ-like. So I think leave that forgiveness. Let God forgive him and you stay doing your thing. So I think that's just my take on the whole situation. And I just hope it gets better for her. And I hope she finds a good dude.
Kalisto, what are you telling me?
So, first off, when he called and said, I wanted to meet so that we can have clarity, my first response was, so there was fog and smog and you couldn't see the forest for the trees, but now it's pretty clear. I don't need to have a conversation with you. It's clear that you want a divorce. I don't have to give you that. But because I'm on the show and the producers, I'm going to pray on it. Okay. But the producers had a lot to do with her decision. Okay. And so she decided to go ahead and have this conversation. And she did. She was very much so full of grace and poise. I commend her for that. I wish, because this is who the woman I thought she was when we first met her on day one. I really wish that this woman showed up on day number 2 or day 1 at night, because she was very articulate. She stated the facts. She said what it was. And on top of that, she was under the tree. She was shading for real. Like, I'm ashamed to be like, yeah, I could be pregnant. Girl, we all know you're not pregnant. We all know you didn't have the lady didn't came. But he shaded her because, he felt like it was necessary for you to bring your Instagram ex-fiance, mother of your child, as if it was going to be some type of beef, as if because we are aesthetically different, that one is going to think the other isn't beautiful. I really felt like it was like I'm gonna show you what I like. Like I wasn't attracted to you, but this is what I like. And in my opinion, I just feel like, Paige leveled up compared to, in the comparison for me. Okay. It's just my own opinion. And in addition, I just thought that, like Ed had said, when he said he thought that he was going to have a different outcome, that he was giving them the polyamory option, the multiple love option, that they were going to go ahead because Paige had proven to just go along with what he said. And I'm sure that's what Mercedes does as well. He just figured I can integrate the two and we can be a triad and be fine. Now listen, to each their own. But come with that up front, that that's what you want. Don't go under the pretense that you have pure thoughts and pure intentions and you want to be married and you want to build this family with me, and don't do it. Just find 2 people that are going to be okay with a triad and go with that. Like, nobody's going to judge you. I mean, some people will, but it won't be me if that was what you wanted to do, right? In addition, I was just really, I felt warm and all fuzzy to see the women interact the way that they did, right? It just, as a Black woman, it felt like, our narrative is that we're mean and we're catty and we're aggressive, and just to be able to see them sit on the couch and be amicable made my heart smile. Like, come on and show people what Black women really do. Like, we aren't always, we are actually very clear-headed. We know how to have a conversation, to disagree. Absolutely. in a way that is healthy. And so I know that there's something else that I was thinking of. The whole piggyback on, I think all of you said how he was immature with the pastor and Michael, and with the ladies. The moment things in every situation, even when he was telling about the 6 weeks and the people weren't, she's 6 weeks pregnant or whatever. Anything that was opposite or opposition to what he wanted, he got an attitude. He detached himself. He became very dismissive, and you became less important. If these people had agreed with him, he would have felt like he was winning, So I think that's it. I think, I don't think I have anything else. I had so many thoughts going in my mind, though, while y'all were talking. Like, all of this is so on point. You guys are so amazing. And just give you your flowers while you living.
Can I say this real quick? Amazingly, we watched with our teenage daughter, and that was one of the first things she says. She said Chris was wanting some sister wives. I thought that was the fun. So for y'all to say that, I was like, girl, stop. Ain't no sister getting ready to be no sister wife. He is a fool. But that's the first thing she said. Chris think he gonna get some sister wives. Like, they gonna all match. Nah, that's not going to happen. And I agree with Talise. I really did feel like, I was like, yeah. And they checked him. Mercedes was like, you're being rude. Like, fix that. I appreciated that.
Did anybody feel like this was a unified effort though by Chris and Mercedes against Paige originally.
Oh yeah, definitely. I thought when they came in together, even though they came in separate times, we all know, you can all tell that they came together, that they was unified, that she was there, based off of him. And again, we don't know what he told her prior to being there, but when she got there, she made her own decision for herself. Like this is not what I thought, So when Paige started talking and having a conversation, you can see where Mercedes started to change a little bit, and where she started to say, you know what, this young lady is hurting, or this young lady's articulate. This young lady, why am I mad at her? I don't even know her. I know Chris, and I know what Chris is telling me, but I don't know her, And so I think, at first it was a plan, but as the conversation started going along, it's changed. I want to go back to something that Evan said real quick. Especially with the pastor situation. Dog, this is not only your boy, but this is your pastor. So he has a two-fold. This is your boy, and this is your pastor. And again, if you ain't listening to him as your boy, but you remember his flock, you should be listening to him as your pastor. As much as religion he talks, as you're kind of a worldly dude, man. As much as you can, you're not even respecting him as a person, quote unquote, the watchman over your soul. He's giving you some advice to protect your soul, and you're not even listening to that. So, like I said, like you guys said, if we're boys, that was the last day we'd be boys, because you ain't listening to nothing else I say. We're done.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that one, I'm glad Paige stepped up too, because I like the whole comparison thing that they try to put. Because talking to Steph, I was like, they're both beautiful. Like I don't see any downgrade in Paige at all. So I hope she sees this as something, because there's no fall in any opinion. I believe she's a beautiful woman, and this is going to make her stronger, hopefully. And and I think that Chris, the reason why they came as a united front, this is my humble opinion, is that he gamed her with some baby. I just did this to get on TV. Matter of fact, you can get on the show. I ain't even have sex with her. We kissed, okay, because I had to do it for TV. But this is come here and see what's good. That's why she flipping. Why would you flip if this is your wife? If you really the program, just doing it to get money or to get us TV. I mean, I did this for us. I can see him having the whole conversation in the limo on the way to the whole conversation. Man, if y'all don't see Ike and Chris, man, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
That boy one drink away from David Ruffin, man, I swear.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else with a burning point?
I want to say that I do feel like they came in as a collective, staggered, but they were a collective. You could tell in the way that they were dressed. In addition, I felt it was, I don't know, maybe I was overseeing things, but she walked in holding her little belly, her little 7-week belly, to show that I'm the mother of his child. Like in somewhere in her mind, I have something that you don't, and he's going to be with me, until she sat down and had a conversation. And the first thing out of her mouth was, I don't have any ill will towards you. And I thought to myself, but why would you? And why are you starting off with that? Because if you didn't have any ill will, you would not have to vocalize the fact that you didn't have any ill will. So why start the conversation off with that? But fortunately, Paige did some soul searching and did talk to God, because she was very much receptive. Yes, centered, right? In that whole, I don't know. After they walked in and y'all look jazzy after that. Yep. I don't know if I would have been so, gracious. Like, I don't know if I would have had that much, poise and, cool and kindness. I don't know. I'm a bit inside, I'm a bit passionate. So I think that it would have come out and they would have gotten what they wanted, which was love and hip hop, married at first sight. Like I would have put my hands on her, but I definitely would have told them something. They would have been bleeping all the words that I could come up with out of the rainbow, because you're trying it. But I'm glad it turned around. So that's
to the credit of what you just said as well. She started off saying, I don't have any ill will towards you. And then Paige was the one that started talking first. Paige didn't orchestrate this meeting. Why do you have to be the first one to start speaking? What do you have to get off your chest? You don't know anybody in this situation, because you don't even know Chris at this point. No. So why are you starting off being the one that's like openly vocal about everything and saying your part? Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Right. Chris is the one who should have started the conversation.
Yep. Exactly. Because he is the middleman. I got you pregnant, but I'm married to you. Let me explain myself.
Yes, and let me tell you why I want you here to have this conversation, because I still don't understand the purpose of the conversation except for you wanted a triad. So I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because there is absolutely nothing else that we need to talk about. Like, and you told me you want a divorce too. What are we talking about? I'm not gonna be in your baby's life.
Man, Chris orchestrated this conversation, so he was looking for her out. He didn't like the girl.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be married to her, so he's looking for a way out. So he told, what's her name, Mercedes, something. Like, I don't know what he told her, but he told her something to get on the show just to make him look good. He's going to his pastor saying, hey, this is what's going on. Hopefully they be on my side. And when he saw everybody else was like, no, like the gang was shut down at that point. He's like, I'm shut down. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? You being rude to me. Like, brother, man, you need to see what you, like, we did. Like,
I'm being rude to you because I called you on your
right.
Google.
Right. Like, come on, brother, man. It's the game is over. Just be truthful with yourself. It's okay if you don't like the chick. You know, get to know her for these 8 weeks and then be done with it. Or just quit. Just be like, I'm done. And I'm sorry, you don't know her, you don't owe her anything. So, hey, man, I'm just like, that's all that was. I feel like that whole conversation was a way for him to come into the situation, them talk, and him look good by saying, I don't want to be with you anymore.
He thought he had the upper hand.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you want to say?
To the point of Paige being the one to start the conversation, that's really reflective of her pure intentions, because they have an agenda. And so they were waiting for somebody to kick off the circus. And Chris didn't do it. Mercedes, you know, she knows, but she doesn't know what she thinks she knows. And Paige is so desperate to get some closure for real, because she is the one who's been most traumatized by this whole situation. Even Mercedes, I mean, you lay down, you had raw sex, then it's not a surprise that you are pregnant. So, like, for everybody else, Paige is who truly is kind of trying to almost walk in the dark and, like, feel, okay, how did this happen? How did we get? So I think that's why she started it. She really wanted something out of the conversation, and the other two were just there for whatever they had set up.
You know, you said that I was here for pure intentions too, when you're having sex 6 weeks prior. I mean, that didn't make any sense. But then number two, you never told your fiance or whatever, your ex-fiance. So how could you be in pure intentions? And then I feel like it's just spineless as a man for you to sit there and bring two women together and not lead the conversation.
Right.
And man, like, okay, so here's why I call. It could be if I called a meeting with 3 guys, I'm like, hey, bro, I called this meeting. Like, why are you wasting my time? And I think we're just so used to like stepping up. She should have been like, okay, Chris, what's good with it? Why are we here? You know, what's the point? But I think he thought they were going to chum it up. And I think he was done with her in every high level. But I think he still wanted the boom boom.
Absolutely. Yes. For that goodness and mercy, it was good to him. He wanted that goodness and mercy. He wanted that.
50 Shades of Grey style. He
right.
I don't want to really be married. Like, I just because if you notice, he tried to go back up that night. He talked to her, but she ain't back up. I still think he called her after she left. I really do. Thoughts, but I think that's what he really wanted situation. But you know,
I know I agree with you on that, because if you ain't attracted to her, he kept having to have sex with her in the morning. And 8 days, 11 days together to have sex. 8 days, except for 2 days. You know, and sometimes twice a day. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the poom poom's good.
I used a great word. I love that word. I'm going to get your final thoughts. I know we could go all night talking about Chris and Paige, like I say every week, because we really could. But if I can get your final thoughts. He said the poom poom was good. Yeah, so I love it. So if I get your final thoughts, just a quick roundup, and then we'll end the show that way, guys. First of all, before I even let you do this, please, guys, if you're watching, we have almost 500 people here. Please make sure you guys are following these amazing panelists. Okay, they are also YouTubers who are reviewing great content like myself. Okay, so make sure you guys follow them. Their names are on the screen. Go over to their channel. Make sure you like it, you share, you subscribe. You know my motto, my equations, guys. Okay, but I'm gonna let them go their final thoughts. Final thoughts, guys. A minute long. Okay, minute long, guys. Final thoughts. Okay, what you think as a conclusion. Someone go with Jack and Glenn first, and then
you get 30 seconds. I get 30 seconds. Go.
No,
You good? You got your 30? You good?
You good? You can have. I'm giving you my time.
All right, good. I'm taking your time. Make sure you subscribe to Jack and Glenn, which is on YouTube, Instagram, Jack_Glenn. Also on Twitter, Jack_Glenn. We just dropped a new video today talking about miscarriages. We experienced a couple miscarriages in our marriage. We know what's proud of the thing about Mercedes. So we talked about our experiences, and we didn't, bash Chris. But I think one of the issues here that we have, and not only Chris, but even with Ryan, sometimes the men here are not vocal and they don't know how to communicate that we saw so far. Some of the men, only one that's really been know how to communicate as a man in these episodes really has been Jacob. If you look at it, Jacob has really been the one that stepped up and been able to communicate. Eric hasn't been able to communicate. Brian hasn't been able to communicate. Chris definitely doesn't know how to communicate. So you've seen that. And so when Jacob communicates as well, but as a man, you should learn how to verbalize and communicate your feelings and your thoughts appropriately to your spouse and how to do it in an effective manner. And so I think that's one of the big things that I got out of these first 8 episodes is us as men learn how to communicate with your spouse, even if you need some help. Again, I think Stephanie said when we first came on, I know they have a friend episode, but don't let every friend in your marriage. Every friend ain't there looking for your marriage to be successful. Someone might be like Cole and want you to sleep on the couch, but don't make sure that everybody's there. So you have to be careful about putting everybody into your marriage. Also be careful about how you let people chirp in your ear. And again, if you're a man, be a man. If you call a meeting, have conversation and discussion. And my time is running out. Make sure you subscribe to Jack and Glenn on the Jack and Glenn channel. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you share with somebody else. And we appreciate being here each and every Sunday with these great people. Thank you.
Man, like Glenn, I appreciate you, Glenn. August Love, if I can get your conclusion as well.
First off, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at August Love Story.
YouTube as well.
YouTube at August Love Story. Thoughts on Married at First Sight? Communication is the key to life. You know what I'm saying? The key to marriage is communication. Figuring out how to communicate with your spouse. Figuring out what you need in return. And being able to vocalize that, man. All those things are important. I'm glad Chris and Paige are, we're dwindling this down. I'm glad about that. I think they're ruining the show. Like I'm constantly saying that. I think Chris and Paige, with Chris more so than Paige, is ruining the show, and the likeness of it. But I think Eric is control. He needs to calm that down a little bit. Clara needs to get some from Ryan, and
he needs to fix the shelf in his house.
Right, he needs to fix that shelf. Haley drinks beer, so she good with me. And I'm missing somebody. I can't. That's it. That's all it is. Okay. And man, I really appreciate you guys. I love hearing everything you guys say and your thoughts and your opinions about everything. Also, check out our podcast too. It comes out on Wednesdays, and we talk about various relationship topics and everything like that. So check that out as well.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you, man. Appreciate August. Okay, Stephanie. Final conclusions. Let us know.
All right.
Stephanie and Edmund. Sorry, apologies.
No problem. You can follow me at Successfully Me on YouTube. I am Successfully Me on Instagram. And I'm successfullyme.com, where you can see what I'm doing. I'm also cooking up something new for YouTube, so I'm getting excited to do that. So make sure you subscribe. In terms of, and I love all you guys. Good. I've been doing every other week because most of you guys know we have an 8-year-old and he just started sleeping and all that jazz. But it's nice to meet Talisa because I have not met her yet. So hi. I would just say. And I'm looking forward to collaborating. I know we talked some stuff the last time I got on here, but I would just say that if you're finding that the show is getting hard to watch, because I get that a lot. Oh, I only watch it because of the reviews. I only watch the reviews. I don't even watch it.
Yeah, say that, yeah.
I always say that that can go with a lot of things that we watch. And so what I love to do is find some commonalities, life we're showing up the same way, because it's always easy to point the finger and say, oh, I would never do that, or I can't believe they did that, and you're actually doing the same thing. And sometimes you get to see it, and that's when you're able to say, oh God, like I'm embarrassed because I'm actually doing that. So I always find that even watching the shows, it might be difficult to watch. I agree with you that, you know, Chris and Paige, that whole thing has made it very difficult to watch. I always like to do some sort of edutainment where, what can I learn from this? And that's just the way my brain works. What am I seeing? How can I utilize this in my life? How can I utilize this in work? How can I help other people? How can I help myself, my family? So at the end of the day, not just lost time, because even though we're like struggling sometimes to watch this, we're still all committed. And it's like this beautiful community where sharing their personal stories. And I know that reading some of the comments, people help each other by saying, listen, like I had a man say, I'm a man and I was age. And he had this long story about his history. And it was just really beautiful for him to share. I know so many people were moved and helped by that. So that's just my 2 cents. There is a reason, even if it's bringing community together.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for having me, brother. I think you're doing a great thing, you know, with what you're putting in this collaboration. That was a genius move. And I love learning from you, meeting everybody. So thanks for allowing me on. And like you said, I'm just going to say a couple quick things that I would just say for people that are listening. Like, what can we learn from this? Because you got to kind of take something. Number one, if you're going to man up and apologize, don't do it in a group. Pull a person to the side, man or woman. Do it one-on-one. Because how can you apologize when the person you offended wasn't even in the room? That's so fugazi, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you're listening in a relationship or you want to effectively communicate, just repeat back to what that person said or what you heard them say, because sometimes what they said is not what you thought. And so if you say, well, here's what I said, so I hurt you, I should be checking in, is that, you know, and that what they're like, no, that's not what I said. I've done it times. I didn't know what my wife said. I thought she's like, that ain't what I like.
Me too.
Well, I was about to have a whole apology set up for this thing you did not say. So I got struck a nerve. Everybody,
you all.
Yeah, they're like, man, I've been so wrong. Really?
Oh, that's a man thing right there.
Well, damn. Okay, and the last is always seek to try to see where you were wrong. Where could you have better? How can you grow? Chris does the opposite of this. And if you go through the list, man, where was my accountability in this? And if you can't find it, then you're out. Because we always have some type of accountability. We either should have said no, stopped, you know, forgave and let it go. Whatever it is, we have to find where we can be accountable, and then set a boundary after. I think I forgot who said you got to set a boundary after that, and then if it happens again, then there's a problem. I mean, then my point of view is I always seek accountability and see where you can be better.
Appreciate
That's it for us.
Appreciate
it. And wait when Steph drops her new thing, y'all gonna love it. I can't wait. I'm excited. Y'all gonna love it.
Appreciate that. Sure. Cheers, Edmund. Talisa, you're the final voice on this.
I just want to I'm always so in awe after we finish because you guys always bring some of the same perspective, but some different. Sometimes I look at something differently because of something you said. And that also goes for like our subscribers. Like I'm always very grateful for every opportunity we get to share, right? So one of the things when I think about them all as a collective, I always talk about the 3 C's. And I think that each of these couples, minus Paige and Chris, they can learn this separately and no longer collectively, is communication, commitment, and compromise. Those are the 3 things that every relationship needs. Communication, commitment, compromise, and we can add a whole other thing. Like I got a whole bunch of C's, but them are my favorite 3. And I think that if they all start with communicating with one another, they will be better off knowing that we aren't meant to be together, or we can work through this, right? That we compromise and understand that it's not just about me in the relationship. Now that I'm married, let me consider my spouse. Let me consider and see things from their eyes and hear with their ears and listen, and love with their heart. Like see things from someone else's point of view. And then that whole commitment, like, is this something I really want to be in? I get to choose. That's another C. If this is the relationship I want to be in, and if I'm going to be in it, then I'm committed to it. And in that commitment, I need to consider my spouse. That's all for me. How do you find me? Everywhere at I am Talisa Ray. On here on YouTube, I am just Talisa Ray. So just put in Talisa Ray. It'll come up like right now. Talisa Ray, subscribe, and the notification bell. I don't know why they didn't say that, but they all know that that's what you're supposed to say. And then share it with your friends so your friends come and like and subscribe, and they do it with their friends, and it just becomes a snowball effect. So I'm saying that for all of us, okay? Yes.
I appreciate it, Lisa. Oh man, I love that, man. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You guys always show, and what I love is, that you guys always give us a good analysis and good deep perspective. You give us different angles, and that's what I really, really appreciate. You guys don't speak just about how I don't like Chris or anything. You tell us why you feel the way you're feeling and what you're seeing, and I think that's really important for anybody watching this show. And I think Stephanie and Edmund kind of touched on it, and a couple of you guys are touching it as well. Is that this show, okay? A lot of the things that we see on the screen are to actually help you. It's better to watch the train wreck than to become the train wreck. You understand? So if you can learn from them, it's so important to learn it. And we say the greatest wisdom is being able to learn from someone else's experience. So watch the show, and sometimes it's painful. Watch it, learn from it, and make sure you can also pass that information on to someone else as well. So honestly, panelists, thank you so much. Audience members, thank you so much. Do us a favor though, make sure you are subscribed to everybody's channel. All right, make sure you're subscribed to everybody's channel. They all speak with wisdom, and that's why they're all together here today, and I'm with them as well. Okay, all right. So I appreciate you guys so much. I know we went a little bit over time today, so thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, honestly, and we will see you next week. Hopefully, episode 9 will be a little bit better. Okay. Hopefully Chris and Paige will not be in the same position as they were this week. But guys, we thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe again once more, and we'll see you soon. Stay hydrated.